Good day to Dr. Doria. I am BHAVETIERA CHALVAN, and today I will be presenting on a case study called Wrong Answer. So these are the contents of this presentation today. So let me begin with the summary of this case study. Rachel Aviv, a staff writer for the New Yorker, provides a relatively favorable portrait of the teachers and administration at Parks Middle School. As with the other schools, Parks was required to fulfill state criteria on the Criterion Reference Competency Test administered by the states of Georgia. If they did not, teachers and administrators risked public humiliation, loss of raises, firing, and potential school closure. Rather than face the inevitable repercussions, they cheated by acquiring the exam answers in advance and removing student responses to be sparingly and cleverly replaced with accurate ones. The cheating started in 2006 but had to rise each year to meet the annual yearly progress requirements of No Child Left Behind. The school's astonishing and astounding achievement garnered national notice. Not just Park Middle School cheated. In 2010, Georgia Bureau of Investigation officers discovered that 44 schools had cheated after conducting over 2,000 interviews. Many teachers and administrators are now facing serious consequences, including termination and criminal prosecution. This is a morality lesson, but the poisonous climate created by the state's interpretation of NCLB has clouded the message. I'm going to emphasize on three main points from this summary. The first would be cheating on tests. Damani genuinely cared about his learners, yet they referred to themselves as failures year after year based on their exam results. Waller requested that Damani check the student responses and instructed him to delete the wrong ones and substitute the proper ones. Damani, along with other Parks instructors, agreed with the request. Out of control, Damani had no idea that he was initiating something at Parks that would ultimately spin out of hand and develop into a permanent habit. Last but not least, cheating scandal exposed. In 2009, an Atlanta publication published a story claiming that Park's testing games were unexplainable. This prompted an inquiry, which resulted in Damani Lewis confessing. Teachers also confessed or acknowledged their participation in the cheating incident in July 2011. Damani was sacked and lost his teaching qualifications after pleading guilty. Before I begin, allow me to pose a critical question. Who is the customer in this instance? Is the primary customer learners, governors as the secondary customer, government as the tertiary customer, or teachers as the internal customers? If learners are the actual recipients of the service, we should do quality management in a variety of methods. I'm going to quote what my course mate from Group 1 said. Certain indicators of success, such as learners' responsiveness, communication, and etc., may help increase a school's retention rate. If, on the other hand, the consumer is the government or a district, we must develop methods to suit their demands without resorting to dishonesty. Next, I am going to relate this case with Deming's philosophy of quality. According to him, evaluation is one of the deadly diseases that he had listed. He strongly believed that they lead to short-term solutions and underperformance. Another reason is it can result to strong competition. Let's analyze the case deeper. Park School sat in the bleachers for the fifth consecutive year, humiliated. It has been repeatedly shown that the reason it all failed originally was because the results conveyed to students that they were not good enough. They bore the scars of years of standardized assessment. As a result, this might not boost them to work better, but instead creates an unhealthy competition with other schools who would end up cheating so that they can hit the benchmark. Deming emphasized that the real measure of success is happy and satisfied customers. In this case, the learners or the teachers at Parks who should have been happy and satisfied genuinely and not by being dishonest. In addition, teachers and staffs at Park Middle School should have a long-term coherent strategy instead of focusing on short-term thinking, which can only solve problem temporarily. The issue in this case could have been solved if the teacher has taken Deming's point into consideration. First and foremost, to cease dependence on mass inspection to achieve quality. Teachers should have given an opportunity to formulate their own technique to monitor and develop their own quality. Allowing schools some autonomy in showcasing their strength may be a novel and distinctive approach. Second, training is unquestionably vital. Teachers should not catch fish for students. Rather, they should teach students how to catch fish. Similarly, rather than deleting their answers, teachers should have trained students on a proper examination technique prior to the test. This action may be avoided only if the school and district provide appropriate training to ensure that all teachers from all schools are on the same page. At Parks, the message shifted and students began to believe they were capable of more. Even if the promise was illusory, they were making limitless possibilities. Having test results correlate with the students' feeling of value and the impending closure of the school impacted hard on the staff and learners. The scores were unattainable for the school as a whole due to its one-size-fits-all nature. As a result, fear was fostered in school staff members as their reputation, salary rise, and school closure are all contingent on academic success. This would not have occurred had an encouraging atmosphere been established rather than a fearful one. Therefore, it is important to drive out fear as Deming suggested in order to maintain the quality or to ameliorate it. If I were a teacher at Parks Middle School, I would certainly change the learning environment in that school. This is because the environment can set the mood right, and with the right facilities, the learners would be interested to learn compared to an area which is disorganized, dirty, and messy. If they were provided with the right environment which is conducive, it would be a different story. Studies have consistently shown a correlation between school environment and student outcomes. Lots of factors are variables that affect student academic performance or achievement. Second, bubble. Focus on bubble learners. Bubble is a term used for learners who appear to score right at the minimum level. Focus shall be directed to this kind of learners who can contribute to the high rate of passing score as an overall in the long term. Not only that, collaborate with teachers from high-performing schools such as professional learning community activities. This can give a chance for the teachers to know how do teachers in high-performing school handle their learners and what strategies can we adapt or adopt from them. Apart from all these suggestions and strategies or things that I would do, something that caught my attention about this case study is the possibilities of implementation of ABCS method and also OKR. ABCS stands for Antecedent, Behavior, Consequence, and Solution. This can be a very good tool for the teacher to analyze. So if I were a teacher at Parks Middle School, I would list out all the behaviors of the learners, find out the antecedent, what caused the behavior, and what are the consequences occurring due to the behavior, and what solutions can I come up with. And when I talk about solutions, I would definitely use OKR method, where it stands for objective and key results. To measure that, PDCA cycle can be a very good guideline for me in order for me to track my goal and see whether I have achieved it or not. Before I end, let me stress on something. The growing emphasis on standardized testing is stressing teachers. No Child Left Behind Act in America has emphasized the importance of testing in the lives of both students and teachers. It has increased the significance of teachers feeling out of control. This causes lots of worry among teachers. A single exam given on a single day of the year at a single hour may determine their own jobs, earnings, and lives. Actually, there are many factors that influence test findings. Educators have limited control over how students sleep, eat for breakfast, and what traits affects test scores and etc. They do not have control over all these things. Some students even would purposely fail standardized tests out of disinterested. They didn't study since the test didn't affect them. Why would the government let a bunch of ignorant kids decide the fate of hardworking American educators who are trying to educate future generations? There is a conflict between what is best for the child as a whole and what would help them pass the standardized test. If students continue to do well on standardized tests, the question arises whether they are expanding their knowledge or only teaching to the test. The more teachers are pressed to boost students' exam scores, the more likely they are to use unethical methods. That's all from me. Thank you, Dr. Doria.